rise in seawater tonight could reach 20 feet.
You could be talking about in your attic space or going to your rooftop.
And you'll hear from people evacuating from their third hurricane in just over a year.
Rarely am I nervous about a hurricane. I'm nervous.
From our nation's capital, this is the National Weather Desk.
Well, good morning and welcome to the National Weather Desk. I'm Emma Withrow. Helene is now expected to make landfall tonight as a major Category 3 or even 4 hurricane. Coupled with storm surges that could reach as high as 20 feet, northern Florida is facing the possibility of some catastrophic damage. Hurricane hunters flew into the storm yesterday. Inside the eye, all seems calm, but this storm is huge. Tropical storm force winds extend nearly 350 miles from the center, and that's why tropical storm warnings stretch from Florida into Georgia and even the Carolinas. Here's what we know this morning. Those winds could top 130 miles per hour in the Big Bend area. Gusts could reach 70 miles an hour as far away as Tampa. That city could also see a storm surge up to 8 feet, which could break records. Mandatory evacuation orders have been issued for part of all 26 Florida counties. Business owners along the coast have boarded up, hoping their buildings are still there after the storm. And preparations are also underway well inland, where up to 18 inches of rain could fall in some places. The storm's so big, massive waves pounded Key West yesterday, more than a day before the storm even made landfall. We have extensive team coverage this morning, starting with meteorologist Jen Collins with a look at Helene's current path.
Hurricane Helene is now a Category 2 hurricane as of the 8 o'clock advisory from the National Hurricane Center. It will continue to strengthen as it moves through the very warm waters of the Gulf of Mexico. Forecast to be a major hurricane once it makes landfall along the Big Bend region of Florida, just south of Tallahassee, between St. George Island and Taylor County. It is then supposed to work its way into the southeastern United States, where it eventually continue to weaken, but spread heavy rainfall through that region. Tropical storm force winds extend 350 miles away from the center of the storm, so much of Florida going to see gusty conditions through the day today. Hurricane force winds are expected to work their way onto the coastline of the Big Bend region through this evening and into early tomorrow morning. Hurricane warnings have been issued for the northern portion of Florida into southeast Georgia, and tropical storm warnings extend into the Carolinas and across the Florida Peninsula. The greatest threat to life and property, storm surge, 15 to 20 foot storm surge possible near the Big Bend region, with upwards of 5 to 8 feet across parts of the Tampa Bay area. And there's the potential for tropical tornadoes, so a tornado watch is in effect for the Florida Peninsula. After the storm moves inland, the rainfall potential is greatest across the southeast and into the mountains of the Carolinas.
We have a team of reporters along Florida's Gulf Coast covering preparations for Helene, as well as what happens after it makes landfall. We start with Tanner Stewart, who's in Mexico Beach this morning.
Good morning. Conditions remain steady here in Mexico Beach, and as the sun starts to rise, we're getting a better look at the conditions out in the Gulf right now. These waves are crashing in compared to what we saw yesterday. It was very calm. The winds too remain steady, as do the rains. The rain sort of coming up and down and going in waves. It remains very consistent, though. It hasn't stopped over the last several hours, and we're continuing to see traffic heading west out of Mexico Beach, and that has been constant over the last several hours. We talked with several residents and business owners here in the area yesterday, one of which, Al Cathy, the former mayor of Mexico Beach during Hurricane Michael 6 years ago, and his message was simple. If there's a hurricane out in the Gulf, the people of Mexico Beach are paying close attention no matter where it is.
I mean, our town looked like just a pile of rubble.
But we're hearing from more and more of those people making those last-minute decisions to leave and head west to other parts of the Panhandle and beyond.
Yesterday, it was popping. There was people everywhere, and now it's just sort of like a ghost town.
While Panama City Beach may be less packed, there's still plenty of people enjoying the sand on Wednesday and even the water as Helene approaches the coast.
Pretty lucky. There's a lot of people out here probably staying all week, getting screwed over on that one.
Others, like the Runyons, who've never been through a hurricane, aren't leaving town just yet.
Water's kind of rough, so we're going to hit the pool.
Businesses along the ocean front spent the day laying sandbags and putting up storm panels, all in an effort to make it through Hurricane Helene.
The people that work for us and with us are going to be directly impacted by that. The last time that a major hurricane came through was, of course, Hurricane Michael in, I believe, 2018. And, you know, a lot of people lost a lot of things.
This area that locals call downtown Apalachicola looks like a ghost town as residents were quick to prepare and then get out. And though this coastal community is no stranger to hurricanes, they tell us that Helene is a strong storm they are not taking lightly. Crews were out here boarding up doors and windows with plywood, protecting businesses. Cars could also be seen leaving town. Locals tell us they actually began preparations as early as Monday. Here in Franklin County, mandatory evacuations are underway for the entire coastal county. Something to note, when evacuation orders are implemented, that means when wind speeds reach sustained levels of 40 miles per hour, all emergency medical services are stopped due to safety concerns regarding ambulance dispatch in high winds.
Take a look at all these trucks in Florida. Power crews are on standby in Pensacola ahead of the Hurricane Helene. That's the site where crews from all over the South are going to check in. They're undergoing safety briefings with Florida Power and Light before heading to those affected areas across the state. Once Helene moves inland, it's going to bring a lot of rain to some areas, but the problem is it's already been raining there. So some places could see up to 15 inches of rain before it stops. We have 2 reports on those preparations, starting with Rex Hodge in Asheville, North Carolina.
They expect rivers like the Tuckasegee River to start filling up with the heavy rain expected, but they're especially concerned about the smaller tributaries at higher elevation.
The scenario could unfold much like the Pigeon River in Haywood County breaking loose during Tropical Storm Fred rains 3 years ago. Residents are asked to be prepared for potential flooding, landslides, bridges that may wash out.
We want them to have that 3-day emergency kit, the water, the food, the pet food, infant supplies.
Macon County has seen devastation from heavy storms before, in particular 20 years ago, also in September, in the aftermath of Hurricanes Ivan and Francis, when a landslide in Peaks Creek took 5 lives.
Water, it can be a very powerful and dangerous thing.
Warner Robins Police Chief Wayne Fisher is asking for patience ahead of Hurricane Helene. The storm is expected to bring damaging winds and flash flooding to Middle Georgia, where most areas are already under a tropical storm watch. Warner Robins Public Works Director Craig Clifton says his team is being proactive to minimize the storm's impact.
Right now, our personnel are out checking the streets, storm drain situations out in the stormwater areas, making sure that all the pipes are clear, streets are clear. Also, we're checking the park areas also.
When it comes to hurricanes, it's the water and not the wind that's actually the top killer. Nearly half of all deaths are because of the storm surge, and it'll be significant tonight with a surge that could hit 20 feet in northern Florida. Meteorologist Brian Vandegraff explains why the surge is really so dangerous.
You have your normal sea level, and then you get these larger waves, particularly when that wind is pushing on that seawater and pushing it more inland. Let's give you a little perspective here. So let's talk about, first off, you get a storm surge of about 3 feet. It's starting to come upward on land. You see it coming in a little bit more. As it comes in a little bit more, it's going to bring some water, maybe in the base level of your house. At that point, you could get some inundation. It's the very beginning, and you get to higher ground, maybe go up to a second level. Get to 6 feet. Look at this, 6 feet of extra water. Do you see all that? Now we're talking about the height of your door jamb, the height of your first level. At this point, if you had an inundation this high, you'd be going to your second level. And let's talk 10 plus or more, 12 feet, you could be talking about in your attic space or going to your rooftop where you need to be rescued from the top of your home because the home will be underwater 12 feet. That could really submerge a house and lead to devastating consequences. Why it's so important for you to pay attention, and when that storm surge is forecast to be on the higher side, to take that just as seriously as you would any other threat within a hurricane.
We want to invite you to scan the code on your screen and watch our special preview at the 2024 hurricane season. Superstorms also includes a tour of a unique hurricane-resistant home and an in-depth look at the use of drones to study hurricanes. You can find Superstorms 2024 on our YouTube page. Our coverage of Hurricane Helene continues next on the National Desk. We're going to take you to a small Florida island that's preparing for its 3rd hurricane in just over a year. Plus, the steps North Carolina is taking to help protect sea turtles.
I'm meteorologist Charlie Lopresti with Look at the Northeast. For the first time in a while, we have some steady rain moving into the Northeast today. This is not associated with Helene. This is not tropical in nature. It's just a plain old rainy day, especially in New England. Heaviest rainfall should be during the afternoon hours. That's 3 p.m. Temperatures today will top out in the 60s for most areas in the Northeast. That front's moving along, though. Look for a lot of sun to return on Friday. Friday's a better day with drier air moving in. Temps will make a run at the 70s.
I'm Chief Meteorologist Gerard Bailey. Here's a look at the Mid-Atlantic region. Your Thursday is going to be another dreary start, but we could get just a few breaks in the clouds there to see just a peak of sunshine. However, going to keep decent rain chances around for most of the day. Better rain chances coming on Friday as we will see tropical moisture from the remnants of what will be just a remnant low pressure, but that was from Hurricane Helene making its impact to the region. Temperatures warmer for your Thursday, up into the low 80s is a good possibility. Will be a little bit cooler for your Friday.
I'm meteorologist Vitas Reed. Here's a look at your southeast forecast highs for the day. It looks like we're seeing 71 in Atlanta, 82 Charleston, about 86 in Tampa. A lot of issues with Helene as it continues to make its way up. Looking at a Category 3 storm or 4 making landfall up around the Big Bend region. It looks like we will continue to see that track in and be bringing a lot of storm surge, flooding, and heavy rains as far north as Georgia, Tennessee, and parts of the Carolinas as we go through late Thursday and into Friday.
Helene was just a tropical storm when it battered Cancun, Mexico, but the storm certainly left its mark. The heavy rain flooded streets while the powerful winds toppled trees. Many hotel guests even said their rooms flooded, turning their beds inside into basically islands. For the third time in just over a year, a major hurricane's threatening the small coastal town of Cedar Key, Florida, and people are definitely taking it seriously. Christine De La Rosa is in the island city along Florida's Big Bend with more on this.
Downtown Cedar Key, it's a rush to save whatever they can.
We've done everything we can do.
Business owners and their neighbors packing up as much as their trucks will fit. Some have even stripped wooden panels off their walls. Shops left bare before Helene comes in and tries taking it all away.
Dahlia and Debbie and this.
Helene would be the third major storm to hit this small Florida town in just over a year.
It's a lot, and quite frankly, been in Florida my whole life. Rarely am I nervous about a hurricane. I'm nervous.
The owner of Cedar Key Pizza, which is already raised from the ground, marked how high the water got for Idalia and where Helene is expected to leave her mark.
That's scary. That's terrifying. There won't be anything left if it gets to that.
This month marks the anniversary of a series of hurricanes in Florida that happened 2 decades ago. They all struck Florida within a 6-week span, and meteorologist Jennifer Collins explains why.
Hurricane Jeanne was the 4th hurricane to impact Florida in 2004. As the storm moved north into the southwestern Atlantic, high pressure to the north of the system caused it to stall and make a clockwise loop for 3 days before heading west and strengthening towards the east coast of Florida. Jeanne made landfall on Hutchinson Island, just near Stewart, just 3 weeks after Hurricane Frances came ashore in the same location. The hurricane made landfall just after midnight on the 26th as a Category 3 hurricane with maximum winds of 120 miles per hour. Jeanne produced wind damage to trees, power lines, condos, homes, and mobile homes. There was a storm surge of up to 6 feet above normal tide levels along the east coast of Florida, north of Fort Pierce, which caused extensive beach erosion. Damage from Jean was difficult to estimate since the cleanup from Francis had not been complete, but the hurricane did produce an estimated $7.6 billion in damage at the time.
High tides and water levels have wiped out several sea turtles' nests along the beaches of North Carolina. The water is just one of several issues that pose a threat to these nests. And now volunteers may be granted permission to move the nest to safer locations. Elena Lannister has more.
This year we have 104 nests. Our recent king tides, though, did take, about 7 nests. There may be a few more that we just haven't determined if they're still viable or not.
Connie Platul is a volunteer beach coordinator in North Topsail Beach. They work with the Karen Beasley Sea Turtle Rescue and Rehabilitation Center to keep the hatchlings safe.
Keep it as natural as possible on an island where there are a lot of people.
The volunteers are there to help make sure the hatching process is as easy as possible for the turtles without getting too involved.
That's about the incubation time is about 60 days. So then we have the volunteers come out. We make a nice smooth area for the hatchlings to go out, and we sit there for a few nights.
She says that though these tides have washed away nests, this is just one of the many risks the hatchlings face.
Our biggest thing that we have on the island that is a detriment to the turtles is our lighting.
Hatchlings can often mistake house lights for moonlight, leading them to walk toward the road instead of the ocean.
I guess if there's any solace in it, it's that it's the circle of life.
Now that fall's here, portions of the country are starting to see hues of copper, scarlet, and gold. But how does that weather impact the vibrancy of the autumn leaves? Meteorologist Mitchell Coombs explains.
This wonder of nature requires pigments to produce the colors we see. There are 4 types involved in autumn color. Chlorophyll gives leaves their basic green color for much of the year. Carotenoids produce yellow, orange, and brown color. Xanthophylls create yellows and are found throughout the year but are often hidden by the chlorophyll until we reach fall, and anthocyanins, which give leaves their vibrant red color. All the colors we see are due to the mixing of varying amounts of the chlorophyll residue and these other pigments in the leaf. The shortening daylight hours help to start the process by signaling leaves to stop producing chlorophyll and prepare for winter. As this occurs, the chlorophyll is slowly destroyed, allowing those other pigments to become visible. Additionally, the weather, specifically temperature and moisture, ahead of and during this transition influence how quickly those colors change, how much color we see, and how vibrant that color ends up becoming. Starting off with soil moisture, a late spring or severe summer drought can delay the onset of fall color by a few weeks. A wet spring or summer can accelerate the timing of the color change as well as promote more vibrancy to the color of our fall leaves. As for temperature, warm, sunny late summer and fall days and cool, crisp, but not freezing nights seem to bring about the most spectacular color displays. A period of warm weather during the fall can also lower the intensity of the autumn colors, while an early frost may lead to the leaves falling from the trees before the color change begins or reaches full intensity. The countless combination of temperature and moisture assure that no 2 autumns behave exactly alike.
It's a fight against nature as the owners of an Ohio Christmas farm work to keep their crop alive in drought conditions. Nick Veland tells us how they've made adjustments to make sure customers have something to smile about during the holidays.
Powering up this truckster has been routine every morning recently for David Davis. This water gives their trees a fighting chance during this drought, something the Davis family has never seen since they converted a landing strip into Flyaway Farm 40 years ago.
Never, ever. Well, the fact I didn't have to water before.
The Davises say these trees can survive through tough times, but recently without rain, without daily maintenance, these trees could die. So far, he's only lost 5 trees out of hundreds. He credits his experience to knowing long days of watering are needed so that they didn't lose everything.
One year it was kind of dry and we didn't know that we should water them. And we did lose some that year, and ever after that, we realized the minute it looks like there's going to be a dry spell, we just have to get on top of it.
The Davises say watering the trees will keep them alive, but the rain makes them flourish, making rain evoke excitement, like what we saw mid-interview.
All right.
Rain also bringing a sigh of relief because now Dave can power down the truckster for a couple of days until it dries up again.
Practiced dentistry for 50 years. Most people weren't happy when they came to the dentist. They were happy leaving. Christmas trees, they're pretty happy when they come and pretty happy when they leave, so it's pretty nice.
It's time now for a short break, but first we're going to take a soar over California's Weaver Lake Trail.
Well, we got a big variety of weather across the Midwest. Today, we're getting into the 90s across the Dakotas. Rain starting to move in from Helene later today to the Ohio Valley. That will definitely spread in even more for Friday, but look at out across the plains. So much sunshine. Let's take a look at your Saturday here. Some lingering showers likely on Saturday and still sunny across the plains.
Good morning, I'm meteorologist Alex Garcia. Here's a look at your regional weather. Boy, it is just amazing this morning, into the 50s and 60s out across the region, and we're still a little humid down toward the south, but that dry air will continue to filter in today as that front pushes on down and we have a nice northerly breeze. Meanwhile, that big storm heads out to the east. Otherwise, look for a really nice day today. Otherwise, I'm meteorologist Alex Garcia. That's a look at your regional weather.
Good morning. I'm meteorologist Rebecca Stevenson, and here's what's happening across the West. We've got cooler than normal temperatures for the Pacific Northwest, where we have a storm system slowly approaching today, bringing in more rain late tonight and also some stronger wind than we had yesterday. However, to the south, we've got excessive heat warning impacting South California, Nevada, and Arizona. That's the scene from here.
You are watching the National Weather Desk.
Damaging storms hit parts of Indiana Tuesday afternoon. The National Weather Service confirms the storms even sparked a few tornadoes. In LaGrange County, sheet metal was tossed into fields and trees. The storm also knocked down a poultry barn. 2 people were hurt when their buggy flipped over in the storm, but their injuries are described as minor. The storm also left an array of branches, debris, and uprooted trees. A meteorology student says he called the National Weather Service to report that he saw a tornado.
So I was at Plato's Closet with my girlfriend and her sister, and all I see is, looking at the window, I see a gray swirl about half a mile to my south, and I point out the window. I'm like, hey, that's a tornado. And then everybody in the store was like, is that? And then everybody was, oh, shoot, that is a tornado.
The National Weather Service confirmed 3 tornadoes. Winds reached a maximum of 105 miles per hour in one, 95 miles per hour in another, and 70 miles per hour in the third. We'd love to share your weather content on the air, so you can find us on all your favorite social media platforms, including Facebook, YouTube, X, Instagram, and TikTok. Just search up the National Weather Desk, and we're going to be right back. Well, thank you so much for joining us today and every day. The National Weather Desk debuted 2 years ago today, and we appreciate your decision to spend just a few minutes of your day with us. I'm Emma Withrow. Make it a great one, and we're going to see you right back here tomorrow.